In this lesson, we are going to extend what we learned in the previous lesson, where there were pictures given. Now we do not have any pictures given. We have to read the question and draw them. The work is going to be the same once we have the diagram drawn. So what we have is Jacob is standing due west of a 180-meter high cell phone tower. He can see the top of the tower at an angle of elevation of 32 degrees. Shay is standing due east of the tower and can see the top of it at an angle of elevation of 50 degrees. How far apart are Jacob and Shay? Well, let's just make sure we remember. North, south, east, west. So let's start by drawing in the cell phone tower. We know one person is standing east and one person is standing west of this. So we've got our cell phone tower that is 180 meters tall. Then we've got Jacob and we've got Shay. Jacob is standing west, so Jacob is over here. Shay is standing east, so she would be over there. We are told that we know the angle of elevation from Jacob is 32 degrees, and we are told that the angle of elevation of Shay is 50 degrees. We are asked to find how far apart Jacob and Shay are. So we want to know what their distance is. So we can break this down just like we've done in previous lessons. We can find this part of x and this part of y and then simply add those together. However, if we look at these two triangles, there is definitely, it doesn't matter which triangle we start with because 180 is the measure of the common side and we know an angle in each of them. So it doesn't matter where we start with. In this particular one, I'll start with the one on the left. We could have started with the one on the right. We have enough information. So if we label this, across from our 90-degree angle is our hypotenuse. Across from the angle we're given is our opposite. And then adjacent is beside. We don't need the hypotenuse in this question. We're looking for adjacent. We know our opposite. So that is going to be tan. So we are going to have tan of 32 equals 180 over x. You use your calculator and you find tan of 32 and we get 0.6248 equals 180 over x. We need to move the x out of the denominator, so we multiply both sides by x, and you end up with 0.6248x equals 180. Divide by 0.6248. So they will cross out here, and you will get x equals 288.1. So now we're going to repeat the process, and we're going to find y. So we use our second triangle. We label across from the 90 degree is our hypotenuse. Across from the angle we're given is our opposite. Beside is our adjacent. So we don't need hypotenuse here. We're looking for adjacent. We know our opposite. So we are going to use tan again. So we know that tan, our angle measure is 50, our opposite is 180, and we are looking for our adjacent. Use your calculator, find tan of 50, it's 1.1917. Multiply both sides by your variable to move it out of the fraction. So we end up with 1.1917y equals 180. Divide by 1.1917, and you get y equals 151.03. So Shay is 151.03 meters away. Jacob is 288.1. To find the distance apart, you add their two distances together, and you will end up with 439.13 meters apart. So once you have your diagram drawn, the work is just what we have been doing in all of our previous lessons. So let's try one more of these. So Seth is standing on the edge of a building. He can see that the angle of elevation to the top of the next building is 52 degrees, and the angle of depression to the bottom of the building is 65 degrees. If the building is 35 meters away, how tall is it? So here's what we have. This is actually very similar to a question we did in the previous lesson. We've got building 1, we've got building 2. Seth is standing on the edge of the one building. We can draw ourselves a straight line across that makes 90 degrees with the other building. We are told he knows the angle of elevation to the top of the next building is 52 degrees, and the angle of depression to the bottom is 65 degrees. He says the building is 35 meters away, so this common side is 35. We want to know how tall the building is. So again, it's in two pieces, a piece X and a piece Y. So we need to find each of those values and add them together. So if we start, again, it doesn't matter which triangle we start with. We have enough information in both of them. So if we start with the top triangle, and just because this diagram got a little small again, I'm going to redraw that top triangle. So the top triangle is we've got 52 degrees, we've got 35, and we've got X. So our hypotenuse is over here. Across from the angle we know is our opposite, and then we've got adjacent. So hypotenuse doesn't help us because we're looking for opposite and we know adjacent. So we're going to start with tan. So we know our angle we're given is 52. The opposite side is X, the adjacent side is 35. We multiply both sides by 35. Sorry, we should find tan 52 first. So on the next line, we'll have our 35 times tan of 52 is 1.2799. The 35s will cancel out, and it's equal to X. So when we multiply those together, we get 44.79 equals X. So now we want to do the same thing with this bottom triangle, and we want to find Y. So across from the 90 degree is our hypotenuse. Across from the angle we're given is our opposite. Our adjacent is beside. We're looking for our opposite. We know our adjacent. So again, we are using tan. This time the angle we're dealing with is 65. The opposite side is Y. The adjacent is still 35. So we find tan 65, we get 2.1445 equals Y over 35. We want to multiply both sides by 35. So the 35s will cancel out. So we get 75.05 equals Y. So we now have our two pieces of information. We know the height above Seth is 44.79. and the distance below Seth is 75.05. So we just add these together, and we find that the height of that building is 119.84 meters. So you draw your diagram, and then you look, and the work is very similar to what we've been practicing all along. So go ahead and practice some of these now.